Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Blooming Sea from designer Reiner Knizia and publisher Korea Board Games. Blooming Sea is one of a number of tile placement games that this designer has come up with over the years. So this one is a underwater themed game. Let's head down to the table. I'll show you how it plays. We'll come back here and I will let you know what I think. All right, here you see Blooming Sea, and this game board is double-sided. On one side, you've got these point values, which are 5. On the opposite side, you have point values, which are 7. You can use either side of the board. What those points pertain to is the amount of points you would get when you claim one of these fish. There is also a variant within the game that I personally always play with, where the fish are going to be worth a different amount depending upon which fish you get. So that's really what those are about. But no matter which way you play it, you choose the side of the board you want, and then on each of these number spaces, you randomly place out one of these fish. And when you're done, it'll look something like this. Each player will choose a color, which will be denoted by the token that they have in front of them. And they'll have a score marker, which they will place on 0 points on the score track. And they all start with one coral tile in hand that they will be using to place out on the board. Turn is very simple. On your turn, what you're going to do is you are going to place your tile, you'll do any applicable scoring, and then you will redraw a tile. That's it. So when we look at these tiles, they're all going to be the same shape, this L shape, and they're going to have 3 different corals on them. What you're going to do is you are going to place it on any 3 empty spots on the board. They do not have to be adjacent to any other tile. They don't have to be adjacent to pre-printed tiles. They don't have to be adjacent to fish, any 3 empty tiles. However, you are incentivized to place next to other tiles because that's essentially how you score. So if the purple player took this tile and they placed it here, what they're doing is they are expanding 2 corals that are already on the board. So these 2 pre-printed. Now there are 2 yellow tiles and there are 2 orange, or 2 yellow coral and 2 orange coral. So they would score 4 total points. It's important to note that in this game, you're not scoring only for your color. You're scoring for the any of the color coral tiles, just the expanding of them. The color of your tiles will only come into play when we talk about how you get these fish. So right here, the purple player or pink player would score 4 points, 2 for the yellow, 2 for the orange, and they go ahead and move forward immediately, and then they just redraw a tile. It would come to yellow's turn at that point. They've got another tile right here that they're going to try to do. Maybe they're going to go up here because they can do something similar where they can get 4 points because they've got 2 yellow and 2 green there, and they would go ahead and move up, and it would come back to the pink player. Now the pink player might be starting to think about how they want to perhaps get a fish. So maybe they'll do something like, I'm not going to get too caught up in the woods here, but maybe they'll do something like this. Would actually be a terrible play for them as far as this fish, but it does give them 3 points here, so maybe they just go ahead and do this, redraw. Now, why might this be bad for the purple player to play this tile the way it did? Because the way that you capture fish is by having all 4 of the orthogonal spaces around them filled. Now, there can be situations where you cannot fill in one side because of the placement of other tiles, for example, and in those cases, you would still evaluate the fish. So, yellow player now might do something where they put kind of a neutral color in a 2-player game around the fish, something like this. Now, they wouldn't score anything right away, but maybe they're thinking that they're going to get a hold of this fish. Purple player does not do anything there. Maybe they come over here and they go ahead and place that so they can get 4 points. They would move it up. I'm just kind of going quickly because I want to show you how these work. So let's say the yellow player now places this. All 4 of the spots around the fish have been surrounded, so they will evaluate the scoring on that fish, in addition to any coral scoring that might have happened. So you look at those adjacent tiles, and if they are part of a reef, meaning more than one, you would count all of them. But in this case, these are all just single colors around them. You don't think about the non-player colors in a 2 or a 3-player game. And in this case, there are 2 yellow spaces, one orange and one green, which again, you don't even account for. So yellow actually would win this fish. In the standard version of the game on this side of the board, they'd get 5 points, and they would move that immediately. If you were playing in the variant, they would actually get 7 points because that's how much the blue fish are worth. So, and if you're on the other side of the board, it would be 7 points. So depending upon which scoring you're using, you would do that, and then play continues on. The end of the game is immediately triggered when the last fish has been removed from the board. At that point, whoever has the most points will win. I should point out really quickly, just going back to the fish scoring, that if there's ever a tie amongst the in-play colors, then the fish is removed, but nobody gets those points. All right, that's the basics of Blooming Sea. Let's head back up, and I will let you know what I think. All right, well, there you have Blooming Sea, a very simple game, very few rules, and a theme that, while basically has nothing to do with the mechanics of the game, at least present a nice kind of look. And so I guess I'll start there. The components of the game are good. They're not blow you away good, but they're perfectly fine. The tiles are easy to read. They're of decent quality. They're not the thickest cardboard that you'll ever see. The pre-printed wooden fish are the nicest aspect of this game. So yeah, perfectly competent. Nothing that's going to blow your socks off. You know, kind of a nice little UV printing on the cover there. That was not necessary, but that was nice as well. So the production is fine. Maybe a little bit bigger of a box than it needs to be. There's quite a bit of empty space in that box. I think really the size of the box is more dictated by the size of the board when it's folded in four. But all that being said, perfectly fine production. The gameplay is very, very simple. You know, there have been a lot of polyomino style games, and I guess this is kind of in that family, even though all of the tiles are of a single shape. So I guess it's right on the edge of whether it's one of those types of games. But it is a tile-laying game with a very simple scoring system where on most of your turns, at least that's really what you're going to try to do, you're going to be scoring some points every single time you place a tile. And as the game goes on and the board becomes more and more kind of constricted because more tiles have been placed out, you're going to have to really try to do the best that you can to eke out the number of points that you can get. At the beginning of the game, things are a bit wide open. You're not going to usually be scoring a huge number of points because there's not large reefs that have been created yet that you can kind of latch onto. So the game flow is so simple. Place a single tile, draw back up to a single tile. Now, you might be thinking, that doesn't really give you many decisions because if you had a hand of 4 or 5 of these tiles, then maybe you are getting more options, a wider decision space. And while that might be true, I don't really know if that would be best for this particular game. I don't know that this game is one that is trying to be a particularly AP-inducing or thinky game. It's a very tactical game where you've got one tile, one placement, and you try to make the best that you can out of that one placement. And your enjoyment of the game may really hinge on whether that's the style of game that you particularly like, or if it's one that you were looking for when you played this particular game, because that's what it is. It's a very tactical game. There's a bit, I suppose, of strategy in you could really be focusing on the fish and foregoing some of the instant scoring that you would get from placing out a tile to get larger reefs to try to get the majority on those fish so that whether you're closing out the fish or one of your opponents are, you have a better chance than them to get the scoring for those fish. And again, depending upon which variant, which side of the board, if you're going with that point scoring variant that I always do, where the fish are predetermined worth a different number of points, that could also influence if you were going to go for that strategy or not. But it's a very, very simple game, and you should know that going in. It's a family weight game. You could teach this to just about anybody. The only thing that I can potentially see tripping people up is that I have found that sometimes when people are playing for the first couple of placements, They really focus on trying to put out tiles with, that score their color, or it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be your color. It's any color will score as long as you are increasing the size of a number of coral reefs. So that's the only thing that I think it could be tripping up. Otherwise, very simple game, very easy to teach, plays very quickly. You can play, a 4-player game. It goes 2 to 4. You could play a 4-player game in 30 to 40 minutes max. And so, it definitely does not outstay its welcome. And it is a game that I do feel like presents some clever plays, some, tactical for sure, but plays where they can feel very satisfying, where you can, get a whole bunch of points and be able to get a fish in the same move. That feels very satisfying as well. But again, it's not a game that you're going to be looking for deep strategy, for depth of decision making. It's a pretty tactical game. Draw a tile, place it out, score, end of the game when all the fish are gone. So for what it's doing, I feel like this is a game that I can certainly recommend. I'm giving Blooming Sea a 7 out of 10. It's not getting a higher score because it's not terribly innovative. There are a number of games that do similar things where you are kind of adding colors and scoring groups of colors when you play them. Some slight area majority, if you want to think of it that way, when it comes to the fish scoring. So not a tremendous amount of innovation there, but what it is very smooth, very easy to teach, very quick to play, and a nice theme that, while painted on, still is a pretty nice theme. So that's why Blooming Sea gets a 7 out of 10 for me. All right, well, that's going to do it. I'm Mike DiLisio. I'll see you on the next one.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.